So this is the file we'll be working with, like I said. So we are using this police data to do some analysis. For now, we are just diving into it with no question available, right? But as we go through it, we'll of course be forming some questions that might come along the way, right? So we have about that's 14 columns, which should be 15 columns if we undo this country name that we deleted. So we have 15 columns in total, and each column has different values that they are holding, right? And we can check what these values are holding basically for every other table that we have right there. But still, it still does not mean that we can't make something out of this, right? So we'll start from the date um, column, which is what we have here. So we have this top date. So we want to split that into dates, which is into year, month, and day. Now, the default day format that we have right here is month, day, and year. So we need three columns, which we are going to add to this other side, right? That's one, two, and three, right? And then this will be months, day, and year, right? Month, day, and year. So we need to get those values out of this, and we are going to use the split text to column function, right? Basically that's what we are going to use to split that. So we are splitting by this forward slash, right? And that has given us this. But if you notice, you will see that some days has 01 while some has just 1, right? We'll look at how to actually fix that as well. So now when we click next, of course, and pick where we want this to appear, which will be here, and um, finish on that, right? We can see that some are actually coming back as dates, right? But that's not what we need. We need it to come back as the value that we have there. And you can see most of these guys actually came back as dates. So we'll come here and turn into number, right? And we have those numbers out and reduce or remove the decimal points that is there. Now these guys right here are showing days, right? Why this one in the front here are showing months. So it's okay if we have 1 down to 12, right? And it also makes sense if you have it as 01 and then we have this as 02. So our day is 2 characters, our month is 2 characters, instead of just having it as 1 1. We can actually work with that if we want to do that, and if you don't want to, we can sort of leave that. Now how we can actually work with, if you want to have two values, would be to add a new column here, and then we'll call this new month. Right now, new month basically would do a conditional concatenating for us. So it will be if, right, the length, right, of this value, right, is equals to 1. From 1 till 9 is 1 character, right? What it should do is to concat 0 to this number, right? So that would be 01 instead of just 1, right? So if the length is 1, do this. If not, right, just return this number back for us, and it's as simple as that, right? And once we enter this, there is, so we are meant to put 3 closing bracket at the back, but Excel can automatically fill that for us, right? And we can see now we have 01. So if we run this down for the entire thing, we can see for all these values that they came back as what they were and they were not tampered with. Now we can use this same formula here, right, and use for the new day. So we would insert that into new dates, and then we have new day, right, which we are just going to copy the formula that we have here, right, and use it here. Then we change every value to D2, right, every single value to D2, every single value to D2. So for where we have it to just be one character, add 0 to the front. But what of days like 10? Those actually come back as two values. So we are majorly concerned with 1 to 9, right, just 1 to 9. That's what we are majorly concerned about basically. So when we enter this, that also gives that value O2, and when we run it through the entire thing, we can see that it's added that 0 to them, and we can see like these guys are separating themselves. No, me I'm original value, no, you are fake values. But we can actually rectify that. Now let's first filter this information and see what we have basically by applying filter, or we can just make the applying filter automated by putting tables to this guy. So format it as a table, and we can use something like this, right, for everything, and that would give us a better show of the data that we have basically. Now we can filter on days that are O2, right. You can see the day of 10 is coming to the top instead of all this O1 and the likes. Now the reason why is some are identified as number, why some are identified as text, because concat will give us a textual value. So these O3, O1, O6 that you are seeing, they are not numbers, they are textual values, right? Why these other ones are numbers, because they are the original values that actually got populated back. So what we can do is we want to first ascertain that we actually have the correct formatting, right? So let's pick on O1 and C. Now this is O1, right, and you can see that the day is first, while the month, we can see that the month is 10 and also the month is 10. So that works for us basically. Now we can clear that filter. So to sort of tidy up our screen before the whole thing becomes too big, we need to copy this file, this particular row, and copy that basically by doing copy, and then when we want to paste, we are pasting just the values, right. So that would replace all of that. And this thing is showing error. We can come to data, is it data or formulas? Yes, error checking, right. And you can see that it has error checking on. So error checking checks for common errors that occur when using formulas basically, right, and it can help us to trace all of those things. So you can turn it off in your settings, right. You can turn it off in your settings, but it still does not disturb us. So we can delete this column since we have that value there, right. We can delete this column and rename it back to month, right, and rename it back to month. So we'll do the same for this, right. Copy the value and paste just the numbers alone, right, and then we'll delete this and have this as just day, right. Now we can now format this column, the values as numbers, right. You can format, you can see that still those guys that we go with concat are still not formatting as numbers. So how we can finally finish that is to create a new column here, which we actually ought to have handled when we were doing that concat of a thing. So we say new day basically, right? And say this is equals to, and we say integer, right? And then we pass in this value, right? And that is still removing the zero, right? That is still removing the zero. So how to go about that? Basically, since we are not using these values as for calculations, basically we are not adding them together, so we necessarily don't need them to either be an integer or not. As long as they are like this, I think we are okay to go. So we can delete that. All we need to do is just to make sure that everything aligns, they are on the same line. So we can use our alignment um, feed to push it to the right side. And for this as well, right, we can still do the same for this and change that to number, just to be sure that we are in number, and then have all of them to the right. Then of course remove the decimal points basically. So we have that for the day, month, and now the year. Basically we don't have any issue with that. So we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So that's 8 years worth of data about arrest basically, right? So that is for that. Now we have this, I mean the stop time, right? Which so we can remove this column, but let's just leave it there. It's not hurting us, right? Now we have the stop time, which is in 24 hours. Which is in 24 hours. So we can either choose to have that time in AM and PM, right? And use that to know which time is it time frame or time zone where more arrests made, right? And we can do that by adding a new column and say time arrest, right? Or arrest time, anyhow you might want to put that. So now this will also work on a conditional statement that says that if now this is where the thing is, we need to work with the number on the right hand side, which is either 01 08 2317 1 10, like that, if it is right. Now for this person was arrested, and I think that was the same person. Yeah, that was the same person. Actually this time was the same person. So what we can do, we'll look at how to actually undo the duplicate. So now what we need to do is we need to work with the other parts of the figure. So if we first return left of this, now left will return values on the left hand side, right? And then we are returning 2 characters basically. Now if we do this, that is returning 0.0. Why is that? Why is that returning 0.0? Okay, let's look at 3 and see. 0.3. Think so we need to actually split this as well, right? Because this is a time feed. Oh, okay. So reason why it's returning 0.3 is returning 0 from here. If we try right, of stop time of 3, is returning it back. So let's check it as number and not as this thing. Yeah, it's returning back as number instead of as time. It's still returning back. So let's split it, and I think that's the best way to go about it. So we have hours, right? We have time, hour, right? We have time, minutes, and time, seconds. So this is time, minutes, and then this is time, seconds, right? Now so we can remove everything that is here and delete that. You can clear content just to take it away. So we need to split what is in this place to that, and we go to data, text to column, next, and we are splitting by colon, right? And that has splitted that, and next, of course, and then so let's pick this column, that's where we want it to be, and finish, right? And everything is coming back as time, of course, which we need to pick up and go back home and have it as numbers, right? And remove this. So what we are concerned about is this first value, right? Is this first value. So these two, we don't need it, we can delete it back, right? We don't need them. So country column has nothing, so let's just convert the country column instead of having it wasting there. So we'll call this time arrest, right? Now this is going to be a categorical feed, categorical in the sense that whether it's AM or PM, basically. So now our if statement will now come like if the value in this place, right, so greater than 11, right, actually solves all the problem once and for all, right? Solves the problem straight away. So if the time is greater than 11, right, then it should be PM, else it should be AM. So if you filter based on that and check for all AMs should be 1 like this, 10, 00, and the likes. Those are the ones that should be AM basically, right? While your PMs on the other hand should be the ones that are after 11, which is greater than 11. So we must not see any 11 here. So now so we need to copy this and duplicate that too, and just paste the values alone basically. So we can delete this column as we don't need that. Now for driver's gender, we can have a new one that says gender, right? And also a conditional statement. If this is M, right, then it should be male, right? Else it should be female, right? And that's all, right? So we'll copy this also, right, and then paste just the values. So we remove this as well. So as we are getting what we need, we are removing what we don't need. So the driver's birth year, right, this is driver's birth year, so we'll put birth year here, right, birth year. And now this is also going to be a conditional statement because we can see some values are blank, right? So if this guy is equals to empty, right, is equals to empty, what you should do is add 9999 as the value. If not, bring back this value, right? And when we do that, we can see that these guys are coming as 0 because this is expecting a quote, right? So when we do that, okay, that's not empty, that is this. So yeah, that works now, right? So that works. So is this, but then let's see if we remove this code, like that should work. Okay, yeah, that works. So this is the value, and then so for all these that are blank returns 9999. So 9999 means that these people did not, we don't have their bet here, basically, right? So we can copy this and paste just the values, right? So then once we paste that value, we can then remove this column again, as we don't need it. Now this is the driver's age. We can see that some people's age were not provided as well. So we have this insert and then call this age, right? So also the same condition that we did for birthday is what we are doing for here. So if um, this value is equals to empty, then put 99. Of course, you don't expect a 99-year-old man to get arrested for to get pulled over by for anything that happens here, right? And then if it is not, then we return back this value, basically, and that's also fill all of these values up. So we can copy that, right, and paste just the values alone and remove this, right? Now we have um the driver's race, right? So we have some blanks value here, and when we see these are the blank values, and the blank value is about 4061 rows of information. That's too much for us to just throw away. So what we can do is let us know that they did not have a raise. So this is, just call it raise, right? We just call it raise. And also the same condition that we did for age. So that's if this column is equals empty, then the value should be not unknown, right? That is, we do not know their raise. And then if it is not empty, it should return the original values back, and we can see that for that. So now if we look at the values between the violation row, right, between the violation row and the violation basically, we can see something that looks so violation is now like a summary of what this violation raw is holding, right? What this violation raw is holding. So we'll move with violation and drop this, right? Then for this we need to fill up for those guys that does not have, so we'll call this violate, right? Violation and B, you can change that later. So we can copy the formula that we have here and use that here, basically. So we need to change all of these to violation and then to violation, basically, and that would fill that up, right? So We can now copy this down, right, and then paste just the values alone and delete this column right here. And then while we are looking to others, to see if there is any blank there so that we can use that thing. So search conducted, did they search the person? We have the value to be false or true. Search type, are all of these search type probable cause, protective risk, and the likes, right? Basically, incident to arrest, inventory, probable risk, and all of those things. um that's like too much for us to even start processing. We can drop that too. Stop outcome, that is, what does the search outcome lead to? So this is search conducted. Now what does this so this is search type, right? Now this is the stop outcome. What does, after stopping the person, what's the outcome of that, of the whole thing? Now this person was arrested but was not searched and has a violation that he was moving anywhere he's not supposed to move, basically, and he's black and he's 50 years of age and he's a guy, and he was arrested in the money and in the year 2005, right? And in the year 2005. So we need to use our discretion for the remaining part, and we can see the duration that these persons were stopped for. Right now, if it is drug related stop, we have those values checked in. This person was arrested. We have no values whether the person was arrested or not, and of course 4061, right, with no information as to whether the person was arrested or not. So this stop outcome, so this is the stop duration, which means we want to know for how many duration were that person actually delayed for. Now we have 16 to 30, right, and we have 0 to 15. So what we can do first is to return from this column the 3 character or 4 characters from the back, and then now subtract the length of that from the total length of this one, and then now do a right of that. Now let me break down so that we can have this 0 to 15 that is here, right, so that we can have that, and then we'll be able to subtract the values. So once we subtract the value, we can get how many minutes the person was stopped for, and all of that, right? So we'll add a new column basically. Now this column might be a bit much, but let's not just we are not naming it. So this is left, right, and we want to return from the left, we want to return 3 values. That will be 4, so that plus the space that is at the back, right, and this is coming from this side, so that should be right, not left, right, that should be right, not left. And yes, we have all of this mean returned. This is what we want to return. Now we insert a new one, and possibly a new one, and of course another one. Now we want to get the length of this, right, so this will be equals to length of this, right, minus no, that should be minus, so this should be length of this, right, minus length of what we have in the front, and we can see, so that's 4 4 4 4 4 and 5, right. Now we now want to use this left, this value here, to pull out all of these informations, right? To pull out all of this information. So that will be we can use something called find, right? So find returns the position of one text within another string, right? Now this might be a bit complex. What are we finding? We are looking for this dash, right? That's what we are looking for, and we are looking for this value, right? That's what we are looking from it. And when we do that, we can see the position of that value, of that dash, is 2 for every places where it appears, and then for where it does not appear we have value error, right? Now if we look at where those things does not appear, right, we can manually not like manually, we can see that there are 30 minutes plus and the light, right? So if we look at, we can see 30 minutes plus. Basically we have some that are 2 minutes. Let's see these two and see. So this one is just natural 2, nothing from it at all. So now for these that are 30 minutes plus, we can use the I'm trying to see how it's not going to we can use the if error, right, to actually do that. So this is the value that is going to return, right? This is the value that is going to return. But if there is now an error, right, what should they return back? So for those 30 minutes plus, right, for those values of 30 minutes plus, we can, since it's plus that is there, that plus is in the third position, so we can put 3, right, as the position. We can put 3 as the position. Now when we input that, we can see that we have 3 for every other places. But what we need to first undo from here is all of these ones that does not have values, right? So we need to do a new one so that we can undo this, and it will be if, right, if this thing, right, is equals to empty, what you should do is concat this value, that is 0, right, dash, right, 0 dash minutes. We need a space basically, right, minutes. So that's what we need, and concat is done. So okay, right, and then value if it is not is this, right? And when we do that, we can see that we have, so for all these that are blank, we now have 0 to 0 there, right? We now have 0 to 0 there. So we can now change this from this stop duration to this column, and use this column instead of drop duration, and you can see that it has that value returned back. Just a minute, I need to check my um what we want to have here is 0 0. So we'll call here to come as 30. We'll come here to call 16. We call out 16. We call out 30. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 16, 0, 0, 16, 16, 30, 30. Right? So let's see if Flash Fill can help us with that. And looks like Flash Fill. So we need to confirm Flash Fill values basically and check, and we have that. So for the other parts, 15, 15, 30. So for this place, it will return back. Ooh. Let's see if 0 will work for them. If Flash Fill will put 0 to those places. So that's 0, 0. I'm sure it can pretty easily pick up all of these ones. Can easily pick up all of these ones. But what we need is 15. Of course, this one will be 0, 0, 0, 30. So 0, 0, 0. What do you want to have after 30 minutes plus? So how do you want Flash Fill to do that? You should put 60 on the other side. Even the 0 that I'm adding here, I don't know if Flash Fill will take that and fill up the 30 plus with zeros. You see, the 30 plus are returning 30 back. So we now need to write our own condition now. So Flash Fill did not do that, and it did 0 for this. Did 0. Okay, maybe the ones that we inserted manually. The ones that we inserted manually, basically. Right? The ones that we inserted manually. But you can see the one that it did itself. It was bringing back the 13. So this is start end. So we can use. So if this column is equals to 30, set this new one that we are looking at to 0, and if it is not, return this value. And then we have that now for 30 minutes. So if you filter for 30 minutes, right, we should see no, these ones are 30. Oh no, this is not the one that we are supposed to filter now. Is this one column 32? If column 30 is equals to 30, so everything that we should actually be seeing at the back here, right? This is our new column, should be zeros, so that works. So we can we don't need this column 4, so this is, so we don't need this column form again basically. We can select all of this, copy and paste just the values, right? We don't need this column 4 anymore. And then this column, this one was achieved with VLOOKUP, so I saved it with flash fill basically. So we don't need this column 2 again, we can remove that. So sorry guys, but we will not be needing your 2 anymore, so delete. Now what we want to do now is we say between 0 to 15 basically, so that we can know how many minutes actually occurred. So now we use our conditional statements here for the subtraction basically. So that will be if so that's if this column, right, is greater than this column, right, what you should do is subtract. If this column is greater than this column, subtract this column, should be subtracted from this column, else this column should be subtracted from this column, and that's that. So and then we have that. So 30 minus 16 is 14. So these are the minutes that these people were delayed for, right? So we'll copy this down, right, and copy this down and paste the values. So this and this we needed them not, right? We don't need them basically, and we can delete that. So we have the minutes, so this is delayed minutes, right, basically. So were you arrested on a drug related issue, or yes, no, we will know that. So this search type, we really don't need that. Stop outcome, whether the driver was arrested or not arrested, we will know. So we can insert a new column and call that outcome, right? So if this column, if this value is empty, then unknown, whether the person was arrested or not, we don't know. And then if it is not, just return back what we have here, and that is it for all of that. And then we copy this and paste just the values, right, and we delete what we have right here. So yeah, so the violation, of course, we need to copy it downward, right, and paste just the value and remove this as well. So now we have these columns, and we don't need the dates again as well, since we have the day, months, and day, month, year. The stop time, we don't need the stop time again. We have it as whether you are arrested in the morning or in the afternoon. We can bring this column from here to to this place and rearrange the entire thing. Now we have the birth year, age, the gender, race, violation. So this talks about, I think this guy should actually be at the end here, right? Your delayed minutes after you have been arrested. Um, no, your delayed minutes should be after whether you are arrested or not arrested should be okay. Yeah, I think the column arrangement is making sense like this. So outcome of your um stop is what will now determine whether you are arrested, and that will decide on what you are doing. So we can bring this drug related to um search conducted, right? So when they search you, did they search you for drugs? Then what is the outcome if you are arrested, and how many minutes you were delayed for, basically. So from we started with 20 something or maybe about 17 or there columns, but now this data has been cleaned up. Now we have is arrested and is not arrested, have some blank space. So we can undo that as the last data cleaning process, and we'll say arrested, right? Arrested. And of course, if this is equals empty, then unknown, right? Else let us get this value back, and then we execute that. So copy this and then paste just the values and delete this column, right? And then we have all of that. So we can change the ones on to drug related, right? Search conducted, yeah, whether true or false. And if true or false is a bit ambiguous, right, we can use either yes or no to that, basically. So there is no single column now that we did not touch, right? There is no single column that we did not touch, basically. So now we'll save this file as cleaned. So we'll go to your GitHub. Your GitHub folder should be on your system, and we can have a new folder here that we'll call police arrest analysis, basically, right? And then save this there as cleaned data, cleaned police data, basically, and CSV, of course. So that would be saved in that file, right? That would be saved in that file. So